Hey people, you found the Hillbilly Voodoo channel. This here's Project EOWR, our extreme off-road wheelchair. It's a tracked vehicle we've mashed up with snowmobile parts and lawnmower tractor parts and motorcycle parts. Last time we got our seat frame all put together. She's ready for upholstery, but it's not warm enough out right now to do any foam and glue and upholstery type stuff. So today we're going to work on the wiring. Yeah, the part of the project that nobody wants to do is the wiring. Well, except for wiring people. We got to take that spaghetti mess right there and turn it back into something that's going to make this thing start. Well, how are we going to do that? We're going to do that the Hillbilly Voodoo way with a bunch of other junk that probably shouldn't be used on wiring, but we're going to use it on wiring anyways. So let's get to this. First thing we need to do is build some battery cables, I think, because the cables that are here aren't long enough and they're not going to work for the project that we're building. So I'll show you what we need here. So we need a cable that'll go from this battery around. And we're going to put our starter solenoid somewhere in this general vicinity here. So we need a cable that'll go from here all the way around to here. Now, I'm going to have to go wander around outside and see what we got for cables. I'm pretty sure we don't have any nice terminal ends like the ones that are on the cable now. So we're going to have to come up with something for those. And yeah, we'll do some Hillbilly Voodoo and we'll take this mess and turn it into something that, well, it'll probably still be a mess, but it probably won't look like this. There's a whole lot of stuff here that we can get rid of. All we need is a start and a stop, and yeah, that's about it. So let's go outside and find some parts and see what we can make. So this here's what we've found so far. We found ourselves an old jumper cable that seen better days. It kind of got wrapped up in a D8 cat fan and got chewed up and went from really long to really short really fast. So we're going to use this for our battery cable. It's a fairly heavy gauge. I'm not exactly sure what gauge it is, but it's probably a quarter the size of my thumb, so that should be big enough. Pretty good measurement, your thumb. Yeah. Anyways, and then we got another piece of copper pipe here, and you're saying, well, we're not doing plumbing, we're doing electrical, but this here copper pipe is going to be turned into our terminal ends for our battery cable. So stick around and watch and we'll show you how we do this. So the first thing we're going to do here is we're going to take this chunk of copper pipe and we're going to whack it with a hammer. It's kind of funny how a lot of my projects start out with taking something and whacking it with a hammer, but that's how I do it. So here we go. Just want to flatten out enough at the end of it that we can drill a hole through it. We use as our terminal end. Nothing good, right? Just whack the end of it with a hammer, flatten it out. Now we're going to cut it off. Give us enough end to put our cable in there, in the round part, not the whacked part, but the round part. So we'll chop it off and then we'll go from there. Probably going to be hot, but we should touch it anyways. There you go. We have one somewhat made terminal end. Let's make another one. I'm pretty sure we're going to need more than just two, and even if we don't need them right now, we'll use them later, so we might as well keep making them while we have this nice piece of mangled copper pipe in our hands. There you go. Take these pieces of copper pipe here now, and we're going to round the edges off so they look like a terminal and don't just look like a mashed piece of copper. Kind of looks slightly less ghetto fab now, but still just a chunk of copper pipe. But I guess really that's what a terminal is just a chunk of something. I'm going to take some of the burrs out of the inside of it so that when we put our wire in there, it's, well, burr free and clean. I'll take some sandpaper, jam it in the hole, clean whatever was in that copper pipe out of there because it looks pretty crusty, and I'm pretty sure that solder's not going to stick to whatever that ick is in there. Nice and clean inside. Got ourselves a terminal. I'm not going to drill the hole in there until after we get the cable all assembled and everything and decide what size hole actually needs to be in there. So, yep, we'll solder this on the end of that chunk of cable there and it'll be good. Got our terminal in the vise here. Cleaned it all up. Put some flux in there. Got our wire cut back. Put some flux on there. We'll heat her up with the propane torch, stick some solder in there, and jam her together. I would normally use this torch for heating it, but it's almost out of propane, so we're just going to use it to light this one. Let her cool down. Stick it in some water or whatever if you want to cool it down fast, which is what I'm doing right now, but you can't see. Give it a tug. Obviously, it's soldered well. See that? We got ourselves a battery cable, and it didn't cost us the $12 that they wanted at the store, which I really couldn't justify spending $12 on a 2-foot long battery cable. Got the other end done, forgot to video it, so that's what it is. And we still got half a dozen other terminals here for about, I don't know, 15 minutes worth of work. So there you go. You can build yourself a battery cable for pretty much nothing. Now that we got our battery cable here, we need some way to stick it on there because that just won't go on there for some reason. So now we need to build ourselves a battery clamp. And we'll use the same copper pipe that we used to make that out of. We'll flatten it out and wrap it around there and build ourselves a battery terminal. Yeah, let's do that. Well, it's hammer time here again, so now the thing with copper is it work hardens. And what I mean by that, it means that when I'm working it with this hammer, forcing it around, the structure of the copper gets harder and more brittle. So we're going to have to anneal this before we bend it. Otherwise it'll probably crack. So we'll take our piece of copper here and heat it up to a point where it's kind of turning a black color and looks shiny. And then we'll quench it with water and anneal it. And it should go from being fairly hard to bend, like springy type, to being soft, kind of like butter. I don't know if you can kind of sort of see the colors there or not. It's almost like a blackish blue color and it looks wet, so we'll throw some water on it. And something that went from being hard and springy went to being soft like butter, and I can just kind of sort of form it around my thumb here into the shape of a battery terminal. Don't ask me how it works. It's science, but it works. Pretty cool. I got our battery clamp molded into a battery clamp shape, and I drilled a hole in there and put a bolt through, so when we tighten it up, it tightens onto the battery post. And I'm just gonna chop it off right there and round the sides over a little bit, and it'll be a real thing. Cool, eh? I've connected our homemade battery clamp terminal things to our new battery cables. Both side here, that's the ground side, this is the positive side. Now I have determined that the starter solenoid that we had was no good. I probably didn't mention before that the reason that I got this tractor was it wouldn't start. Now, somebody couldn't figure out that mess, which it looks like somebody's been seriously monkeying around in there before. It wouldn't start properly and wouldn't stay running. But anyways, I've found another another solenoid here that I believe was off of an old winch. It seems to work. It clicks anyways. I don't know if it contacts inside or not, but we're gonna have to figure out the wires. Now, from what I've found online is the pink wire needs switched power from a key or a switch, and the red and black wire needs full-time power, and the blue wire needs ground, switched ground. So we're going to get rid of all this monkey mess here. And I found myself a key switch that I believe was in my Bobcat, and I just went to a push button in the Bobcat. So for some stupid reason, I'm going to put this keyed switch in here, and I can already hear future Aaron asking his wife, where did that key go with the orange whistle on it? And then I can also see future Aaron laughing at one of the animals running around with a whistle in its mouth for some reason. Yeah. I don't think future Aaron's going to like the whole idea with a key thing. So we might end up going to a push button and just a switch later on, but we're going to try this for now and see what it does. I'm going to hack all this wiring apart here off camera and then wire this thing up off camera so I don't look like a super clown. Like I said, I hate wiring, and I'm pretty sure I'm not very good at editing either, and I can't really edit out all the curse words that are going to be coming out of my mouth here in about 5 minutes while I try to figure all this mess out. So I'll do all this off camera so I don't have to try to fight with the editing part either. I'll bring you back when I get this thing figured out, and hopefully this motor that didn't run in the tractor is going to run. Yeah, we'll get to there, and then that's what we'll do. Well, I think I got this all fingered out here. And it was actually not a whole lot of drama in the middle of doing all this. So I found a piece of wire for wiring up the lights on the trailer. And I got it all connected to our switch here in the spots that I think that it's supposed to be. There's words and stuff on the back here that kind of give me an idea of where things should go, and so hopefully I connected all that right. Now, before you get all twitchy and start rocking back and forth and mumbling, that's not going to be the spot that I leave that solenoid. It's just there so that I can get all this wiring figured out, and I'll probably end up sticking it up underneath here somewhere. That's why I cut that battery cable so long, but it's there so I can get at it, and yeah, makes it easier to see what I'm doing for one. And you got giant meat hooks like this working with these tiny little wires, and I'm pretty sure that's why I don't like wiring, is because yeah, these things don't do this little tiny stuff very well. So got all this together now. I've put a temporary fuel tank on there, just a small one, because I know that there's cooties in this tank and I don't have a filter to connect to here yet. So, and this tank also has to come out so that I can finish welding the brackets and things. So not even gonna bother putting fuel in there yet, but I put that little tiny tank there with some fuel in it. And I managed to get the choke cable unstuck. I got it up there and I sprayed a bunch of weasel piss down the tube, and hopefully it's freed up enough now that it's working. So I'm gonna set you up on a tripod here, and we're gonna find out if this thing's gonna go vroom vroom or if it's gonna let a bunch of blue smoke out and be a big turd. So we'll get you on the tripod and see what happens. Well, here goes. We're gonna connect our negative cable here, and hopefully there's no giant arcing and sparking and letting the blue smoke out, and the angry pixies are going to attack us and eat our eyeballs or whatever the hell's going to happen. Well, that was uneventful. Tighten that up. Probably shouldn't make it too tight in case I need to reef it off of there and run out the door in a big screaming fireball. Okay, everybody, cross your fingers and hope this thing isn't a bag of you know what. I got the choke on. Yes, the choke is on. I put some fuel in the tank, not very much, just in case we do have a fire. Well, let's give her a whirl here. It starts, wow, and it shuts off. That's even better, because yeah, wow. Let's try that again. Cool, it works. I took the belt off between the engine and the transaxle just so this thing didn't bugger off across the shop on us. And I didn't put very much gas in there. It's actually, I think that was just all that was there. But yeah, that's awesome. Now we need to figure out where we're gonna put this key that it's not gonna get smashed or stolen by the goats. Now I've put the armrests back on there to give me an idea where I want to mount this key. And I think that I'm gonna go somewhere in there. It'll be out of the way. I won't be banging my arms on it. And I was gonna mount it up here somewhere, but it'll be kind of uncomfortable having a key jamming in the back of your arm. If I mount it in there, like come through the back side, then the forward backward controls are out of the way and the keys out of the way, and hopefully it won't get snagged on anything and ripped out. Now here's a bit of a cautionary tale for anybody out there that really wants to listen to it. when you have a suspect vehicle in your garage or near your house that you're kind of not 100% sure about the wiring on, disconnect the battery. I once had a Polaris four-wheeler that was given to me because it wouldn't run because somebody took it apart to, quotation, fix the wiring. I had it parked in the shop here, and it was parked right about where the welder is. And I'm sitting here looking at it and had the battery all connected, and I couldn't figure out what was going on with it. And all of a sudden, this vehicle decided to burst into flame. And I'm not talking like a little bit of flame. I'm talking like flames just about touching the ceiling. In the process of bursting into flame, it started itself up like some type of weird poltergeist was on it. And it went shooting across the shop all the way over into that corner. Smashed into a bunch of stuff, broke a whole bunch of stuff, and just about burnt the shop down. So, cautionary tale for you. Disconnect the battery on anything that you are suspect of. I got our hole drilled and our key mounted in there. Looks like a really good spot for it. Everything's moving and not smashing into stuff. And they're on and our vroom vroom vroom. Remember, battery's disconnected. So yeah, that'll be a good spot for it. We can put some switches in here later on for lights or whatever if we want them. Now I'm not gonna tuck any of the wiring or anything up underneath there till I remount that solenoid there somewhere that is probably a better spot. So I think I'm gonna leave this video here. And until next time, remember, use what you got to make what you want.